5.
Okay. We are waiting for everybody to get tuned in. We got this shared a bunch, more than I expected actually. So waiting everybody to kind of get together, so everybody has a chance to watch this as it happens with the questions and all that kind of stuff. So give us a few minutes, let everybody get on here, and we'll get situated. I think we got 10 or 15 questions lined up right now, plus whatever anybody's going to say live. So you can see a dirt car sitting behind me. Got a few things to finish up on it. I think I got to bump it, bump the left front, pull it down. I might chassis dyno, I'm not sure. It's a new Elmore, so it probably wouldn't hurt to get the thing on the dyno, see where we're at with it. Other than that, pretty well set. About ready?
We're going to check Twitter real quick.
All right. Just say it. I can hear you. Dad, you ready?
Ready?
Well, I mean, count.
Go.
Wait, I'm
Let her rip, take your chip.
pretty sure they don't want to hear me talk all the time.
If they want to share it out, they can hit that share button in the bottom corner of their live screen. It won't turn the live off.
Yeah, okay, there you go. So if you all want to share this out and get more questions going and stuff, I would appreciate it. Hit the share button in the bottom, that's bottom right, isn't it?
Bottom right or left?
Bottom right, left, anyway, share. We'll get more questions going. All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
You good? Where are we starting at? Which
You
one
want to start with
at?
the first question that was submitted?
Yeah, that's, if you got a list kind of going, that's fine.
Okay. Do you have
She's scrolling through the
Teresa's
comments.
question on your list, or
Well,
do you want me
I
to
know-
read it?
Yeah, Teresa, what track would you like to see added to the Arca schedule?
Go. You got it. You got. Well, I got my two. There's two of them that I picked.
I would like to see any short track grassroots type of speedway added. I think we do enough for the speedways, the bigger racetracks right now, and then with the Xfinity series, the truck series running more and more Friday and Saturday races before the Cup deal, kind of dilutes it. And I think that touring series is starting to lose their grassroots fans because they don't see us as much there. So I'd kind of like to see us go back to some of the shorter racetracks. I remember the days when we used to run, we'd run Killcare on a Friday night and Toledo on a Saturday or Sunday, and Flat Rock and some places like that. And even for me, I could see a place like Brownstown where we would pack the place and put on some good races. So that's my thought.
You said Brownstown right then, and that was like, I was gonna say Brownstown and Darlington. Those are the two that I would like to see put on the schedule. I know Darlington's one of the places where all the NASCAR guys go and stuff like that. But I'd definitely like to see us go to Darlington or Brownstown. I think Brownstown would be a fun true dirt track, and like Dad said, they get so many people there for a Saturday night race. I could only imagine bringing in a stock car series like Arca, what that would do. So that'd be pretty neat.
Okay, so we have a question that was just submitted. Megan asked, how long have you been racing?
19 years now. I started when I was 10 years old, right down the street at Clarksville Schwinn in the Mini Cup Series. And I raced that for 4 years, did legend cars, super stock at Salem, then we went to late models, and got out of late models in 2008, right in there, and started doing the Arca deal. Been doing the Arca deal part-time ever since. Never run a full season. Usually do about 5-6 races a year, maybe 7 or 8, somewhere in there, but that's where I've been the past almost 10 years now. So, yeah, 19 years. Doesn't seem like it.
You want to go off on one on your sheet?
I can. I had a question. Difference between the dirt tires, because we have Springfield and DeCoin coming up, and asphalt tires. They asked if we run the same tire at both racetracks. That's not. So real quick, I'll just show you. The asphalt tires that we run at the short tracks and the intermediates have no grooves. Basically a slick tire.
It's like Days of Thunder.
Like they, there you go. And the dirt tires have grooves for dirt purposes and grip and things like that. A lot of times, by the end of the race, our dirt tire loses this with wheel driving and ends up looking like this, and that's not a good thing. But that's the difference. So just a real quick little deal there. Yes, we do have specialty tires for the dirt races for Springfield and DeCoin. So there.
That's old school bi-supply tire, and this is a radial
True.
tire, which
Yeah,
is a big
good
deal.
point.
So if you set this out in the sun, this changes and grows and does a bunch of different stuff as you run it. So you got to pay attention to these more with the tape measure. You got to measure stagger, all that kind of stuff.
Air pressure changes the size of this. Air pressure changes the spring rate of this tire.
There you go.
Basically the difference in the tires. Good question.
Okay,
Next.
so Todd Bixby says he wants to thank you for all you do, and he would like to ask when your next race is.
Next race is going to be Springfield. See the car sitting behind me on the scales? We're about done with that, like I was talking right before we got started. Springfield is a week from this Sunday, and we're actually got some pretty cool news. We're actually going to be able to do the autograph session at Menards with the car. I don't have a location for that.
It's the Menards store right there close to the Speedway.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be close to Springfield. But that's gonna be Saturday night before the race, and then we race Sunday. So our next race will be Springfield a week from tomorrow. Got one?
Benjamin Ogden wants to know, where did the 69 come from?
That's a good question. We get that a lot, obviously. You probably have more info on that than.
Yeah, but I wasn't there.
Yeah, but you're a lot closer to that age. So.
Yes.
Now, do we recognize who this is?
Yes.
That's asking this
Yes.
question.
I
Okay.
played softball with Ben's dad
That's what he said.
years and years ago. Yes, absolutely.
And just for the record, Bill cannot see the screen, so that's what he actually
Yes,
wrote.
Absolutely. When my dad, Will's grandpa, started racing at the Sportsdrome back in 1949, he wanted number 2 because number 2 was the number he wore in high school basketball. So he played basketball. He wanted number 2. Number 2 was taken. The only double-digit or single-digit number left was the number 69. So he told him, give me that number, I'll keep it from now on. And from that day on, we've had 69 in our family from the 49s on. So it's just strictly a family tradition.
So there's some people that just tuned in, so you want to let them know that they can ask their questions live?
Yeah.
No
and
matter
so
what
if you guys
format?
are just tuning in, obviously send questions in through comments. Probably not good to message right now, so if you all can comment and let us know what you got, we'll answer. Next.
You want to go back to your sheet?
Difference between a legacy motor, just last week we were talking about legacy Roush Yates motors and an Ilmor engine. A legacy motor, and man, it's a tough question. Arca went to the Ilmor.
Almost need to roll 2 of them out.
Yeah, it's like a spec motor, basically. We have a chassis down here. They make roughly 700 horsepower to rear wheels. The old legacy Roush Yates motors would make roughly 800 horsepower to rear wheels. They were a much more expensive engine to run, so Arca had opted to do something to try to save the cost of racing and custom the cost of racing. So they went to the Ilmor deal. The buy-in has been a tough deal for a lot of teams like ourselves. Over the course of 4 or 5 years, it's going to be a better deal, and you're starting to see some of the savings. The difference is now they restrict us with a Roush Yates motor, so we can't make 700 horsepower. We make about 640 at the rear wheels, and we were we thought we were smart enough to fix it and make the car handle well enough that we could be competitive. We just couldn't do it, and that's what we was trying to do at ORP, and we tried to do it at Salem in the spring. We were 6th fastest in practice with one of them. I think we qualified 10th in spring at the coin last year with an old Yates motor, but we just could not be competitive. So right now we're going back to the Ilmor, and I'm not saying we're going to completely give up on the ideal, but for the time being we'll be with the Ilmors and try to be more competitive.
Ilmor is a version of the LS motor that you see in Corvettes and the newer model Camaros. It's 396 cubic inch. It's also fuel injected with Holley's EFI system, where the Yates motor is just a typical 830 double pumper, pretty much old school stuff. And that's probably the two biggest differences.
And the biggest thing is when we ran the Yates motors in the past, it would cost us between $15,000, $25,000 per race to lease a motor. You would lease it, give it back to Roush Yates. So it's an expensive deal. The Ilmore costs you $41,000. We buy them, we own them, and then we run them for 1,500 miles and we send it back to them. They rebuild them. A rebuild is around $20,000. So it is a savings, but still, I mean, $40,000 is a lot of money, so it's a tough deal for us.
It's $40,000 right off the top instead of paying through.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a tough deal. Good question though, and some of those questions like that is stuff that a lot of people have no idea. I mean, they don't get to see the ins and outs.
They don't even know what they look like. I mean, if you roll them out here, it's night and day difference. I mean, you got coil packs on the valve covers. I mean, it looks a lot like a LS motor, except with a little different intake and stuff set up on it like that. But okay, next question.
Okay, so we have a few questions that have come in, but Keegan Hennessy,
Oh Lord.
what's the fastest?
Yeah, what color the car is? Sorry, Keegan.
What's the fastest miles per hour you've ever run?
It's hard to easy on the camera. It's hard to say mile an hour because we average. Where we average it? Michigan's probably our highest, or Pocono. Average speed.
Probably.
And we averaged 183, 184 or something like that in the draft at Talladega when we hit here. So we're probably 190 mile an hour, but at Michigan, it's a 2 mile, really smooth track. There's no restrictor plates. We're probably right at 200 mile an hour, maybe just a little bit over. Yeah, at the end of the front stretch. So 200, 205, something like that, and it just depends on if you're in the even at Michigan, you can get in the draft and it pulls you down the straightaway pretty fast. So I'd say 200, anywhere right in there, pretty easily.
Okay, so we're going to back up a couple questions. Todd Bixby asked another one. Are you running the composite body yet?
Yes, that is actually the composite body you see here. In the steel body, she can't turn the camera right now because it's set. Never mind, she's gonna turn the camera. Look at that car right there, Christina. That's the steel body. You see how much shorter the nose is. The left front fender's kind of wide. Like I said, short nose, full. That's a fully fabricated body. The nose is on those fiberglass, correct?
Yes, but they cut it up.
But everything's pretty much handmade on the steel car, whereas the 5-star composite body is all flange fit, a lot like a late model body. Almost pretty much is a late model body. It just looks like a COT car or a cup car.
Okay, then we've got Eric Bucklew. Love to see you guys at my home track, Langley Speedway. I believe it's in Hampton, Virginia. You won a challenging short track. This is it. Best of luck to you. Is every Arca race televised?
Yes, it is. It's either live or tape delay, but every one of them now, all 20 of our races are televised now. Yes.
Fox Sports 1, MAV
Fox
TV,
Sports 1, MAV.
American Sports
Not
Network.
more, no. It's NBC.
Sports Network.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yes.
If you go on arcaracing.com and you go on this
Events.
events, it should have it listed with the title of the race, and then it will tell you what TV channel it's on.
Okay, so the next question's from Tim Steinfort. He says, hey guys, how did you all get started in racing? Bill, you start.
Do you remember?
I don't remember. No. My dad started again. Dad started in 1949, and I can never remember doing anything other than hustling home from the grade school to getting in the truck and going to races. When I was, I guess in the 3rd or 4th grade, I can remember hurrying home, and we would race on Friday night, Saturday night. We'd race on Sunday afternoon. Then we would go to Frankfurt Speedway on Sunday night on the way home, and he would run Queen City Speedway on Wednesday night. So Dad would run 4 and 5 nights every weekend, and that's all we did. I mean, that was it. We raced all the time. So unfortunately, or fortunately, any way you want to look at it, when Will was born, he was kind of born into it, and never really wanted to make him race. Actually tried to keep him from doing it. But it's kind of hereditary. So that's
Going to Charlestown when I was like 2 weeks old
Didn't help.
was not the idea keeping me from it.
that was your mom's fault.
But I remember going to Louisville and watching Dad race on Friday and Saturday nights, and me and Mom would like go through Washarama in Clarksville, and then drive over to the racetrack. So I remember that pretty vividly. That was all through the early '90s and '98. So that was I don't know. I never pictured myself doing anything else really. So I was never cared to do anything else. So it's just been all through the generations. I'm not really a way to say how we got started. It's just been here. Go.
Okay. Greg Wesley says, "Are you allowed to groove and sip your tires,
Sipe
your tires for the dirt races? Also, do they give you several compounds to choose from?"
Okay, one compound. We have one compound for the left, one for the right. That's all we're allowed. They are a spec tire for Arca. Are we allowed to groove and sight? Next question, Greg. No, we're not allowed to touch these tires. No, just simple as that. I know that they were caught siping them last year, and they were impounded. They were taken from them, and they were fined. I think the fine was $5,000 on the teams that did it. So, but no, we're not allowed to touch them.
Do we still have to buy tires from impound on dirt? Is that
No.
still how it does? So we can qualify them for what we bring to the track.
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
different there. Okay.
Ready for the next one?
Yep.
Daniel Glover. Any plans for any more cup runs?
Not right now. The cup deal was kind of it wasn't a spur of the moment deal, but it just happened to work out with the schedule 2 years ago with what we were doing. But right now we got some good things working at the race shop, and I'm pretty focused on what I got going on here and making sure that we got a good future ahead of us, whether I'm racing or whether it's somebody else in the race car or whether we get a sponsor. So I'm looking forward to that. We got some neat things working for next year, I think. Stay tuned for that, but as of right now, no plans for the cup deal, just trying to make our Arca deal as competitive as we can.
Okay, next question is from Joey David. Do you all ever do a fan experience where you put a passenger seat in and take them a couple laps around the track? He also says it could be a good fundraiser as well.
Okay, that's funny you brought that up because the last month we've been talking about that really hard. And if you want to turn the camera around, there's the car we've been talking about doing it with right here.
Yep,
The
that one,
black
the black
08 car. That car right there. And the reason being, because after we run that car on the road course in a couple of weeks, that car only is allowed to race at Salem, and after that car is illegal. So it won't be allowed to run no place because it's a 105 car. So at that point, we talked about taking some of the roll bars out of the right side, putting a seat in it, and making it available for maybe a ride along at Salem or Sportstrom, something like that. So, yeah, good question. Talladega, yeah, good question. I think the dirts would be awesome, so that'd be good, yes.
For something you just said, a 105 car, people might not know what that is. What is that?
It's a wheelbase.
Push car.
It's an old
Push car.
Bush Nationwide Xfinity car.
That was actually Eric McClure's car when he was running the hefty deal. You can if you rewind it a little bit, you can actually see the orange paint underneath the black car. It's just a car we acquired a long time ago. It's always been a start and park car or something like that for us. So.
And Arca let us run 105 cars up until this year. After this year, they're done.
Yep.
Can't run them no longer.
Mainly because the composite body doesn't fit the
105.
105 deal. It's a
Right.
110 body.
Ready for the next one? There's a couple of comments. Joe Laramie says, keep the black wheels, they look fast.
Thank you, Joe.
That's wonderful coming from Joe because he's helping us pay for those black wheels, so that's a great deal. Keep selling coins and jewelry, Joe, in Illinois. We'll see you this
And
weekend.
fireworks.
And fireworks.
Yep. Okay, so Blaine, and I'm not going to chop his last name. So Blaine, where do you all think the state of the sport is? The biggest series seems to be losing a little of their fan base, but dirt and some local tracks seem to be doing well. What are your all's thoughts?
You can start.
Okay, so I have a question from Cindy Birch too, and her question kind of goes along with that because she says, how can we make Arca more popular? So that kind of goes hand in hand.
And you already touched on it, really.
A little bit we have. I think what racing in general has lost focus of is grassroots racing. I really do. Back when we were racing at Louisville on Saturday nights, a lot of times, and all the people here can remember the nights that Jeff Bodine and Earnhardt, Harry Gant,
Race
Cale Yarborough, them guys would be at Louisville Motor Speedway 2 or 3 times a year, and give the fans a chance to go out and actually meet these people, and then you were more apt to follow them the next day if they went to Michigan or if they were at Talladega. So I think that we're losing touch with where we come from, so to speak. We got to be careful with that. So, you know, is it in a bad state? It's not really in a bad state. I don't believe that. I think that people have a whole lot more things going on. We've got to find a reason to make people want to come to the races. So some of it is our issue as well, the competitors and the racers. But I think that we're losing focus of the grassroots people so bad that we've got to get back in. And the Eldora deal was a perfect example. I read a story where they said they had 35,000 people at the Brickyard this year for the Cup race, and I don't know how many they had, but I bet they had close to that at Eldora, watching trucks run on dirt. So that just tells you that, you know, the fans are wanting to reach out to that grassroots again. So I think we need to look at that a little bit.
I think if you look at the video I shared with Bob Dylan on Speed 51, that's pretty much my stand on it. It's a shame that where the owners are in the Cup and the Nationwide Series, even Truck and top 10 in Arca for the most part. You know, it's all a rent-a-ride, and that's a shame. That's a shame. That's where the sport's gone. It's not like it was in the 80s, and even the early 90s. So I think that's hurt it some because a lot of the fans cannot connect with some of the drivers that are like that, or that are in that position. But I don't fault them at the same time. I just wish you were a multi-millionaire because we'd have a lot nicer stuff.
Yeah,
But,
it's just the way it is right now. But you know,
Yep.
if we would go back and run some of the short track races, and I'm going to use a racetrack like a Brownstown, and they can't seat 30,000 people. They can only seat 6,000, but so we get 4,000 or 5,000 people, and it looks like it's a full house, and it would be a full house. We might gain 500 or 600 fans that might follow us to Salem, and we might follow us to Kentucky Speedway. It's the same thing. You know, why does Tony Stewart have such a big fan base? Because you can see him run the sprint car any Saturday night, you know, throughout the state of Indiana. So there's a reason for that. That's why Jeff Gordon was popular. It makes a lot of those racers popular because you got to see them run your local racetrack a lot of times, a lot of weekends. Good question.
Okay, so I think you probably opened a can of worms about the passenger seat because now you have people, I think, ready to sign up
Wonderful.
for that.
Perfect.
Yes.
Maybe we ought to get a station wagon.
Okay, so Alan Wheatbrook just had a comment looking good for a couple of old guys.
That's Big Al. It's amazing he can see us.
Nick Reed would like to know if you're coming to Salem today.
No, actually, I'm not. I was sitting there thinking, but no, I'm not. So I can't spot for you, Nick, because I saw that on Facebook too. I am actually going to go to Battle of the Bluegrass tonight, and I'm working for CBS Sports Network. It's tape delayed, but I'll be doing some of the interviews after the truck and tractor pulls with some of the drivers. So look forward to that. Kind of a new venture for me. Not really sure what I'm getting into. Usually used to be on the other side of the mic, but now I get to ask the questions. So that's what I'm doing tonight. But if not, there'll probably be a good chance I'd head up to Salem tonight.
So Tim Despain had commented and said, would you take a minute to let people know how they can sponsor Kimmel Racing?
Well,
Email.
through office@kimmelracing.com. Shoot it through the Facebook, and I'll get back to you.
Phone number. Phone number in the shop is 812-944-0444. Dad usually answers the phone if he hears it.
You can stop by the shop. You know,
I think the point is there are opportunities.
Spread a rumor somewhere, we'll find you. But
Yeah.
absolutely, a lot of opportunity. Now, and we've got some things working for next year, and we're doing everything we can to make it to where at least we can run. There's a difference between racing and racing competitive. We could go out right now and struggle and run 15 races. It just wouldn't be any fun. It's more fun to go like we're trying to go this week. We've had Joe Laramie. He stepped up and helped us. Fast Fuel. Donnie Mingus. I raced against Bruce at Louisville. Will races against Mason when he comes to run the Arca deal. So Donnie Mingus, Team Construction steps up, and we've got people helping us go, and we're able to buy tires. So it's fun. We get to go racing. We can race as competitive as we know how to race.
And it's planned ahead.
It's planned ahead.
Not like ORP.
Right, not 2 days ahead of time. So that's what we're trying to do next year. Put together a deal where we can go out and run 6 or 8 races and actually go to race. And do that and share them with Nick Higdon or some things like that would be just a wonderful situation for us. So that's what we're trying to do right now.
Okay, Greg Wesley asked, what do you as a driver find more challenging, racing on the asphalt tracks or on the dirt?
They're actually a lot alike. On dirt, you got to change with the track, and a lot of our asphalt tracks, you change with the track, it don't change as drastically, so you don't see as much movement with the race car line to line. On asphalt, you might move a couple inches. On dirt, you move a couple feet to find the grip and find the cool place to run on the racetrack. So our dirt tracks are tough because sometimes they come apart. So it kind of gets like a gravelish feel when you drive off in the turn. So you kind of got to be careful there, and you got to learn as you go with the dirt tracks. They're not the same any year really, but it's not really any tougher to go to dirt or any tougher to go to Salem really. So that's kind of how I look at it. I look at them as racetracks and figure out how to get around it best you can and go from there.
Okay, so Josh Buckner says, who were your favorite drivers to follow growing up other than your father's? And his question continues, but I can't see the rest of it yet. So,
favorite drivers to follow growing up? I'm a big fan of Jimmy Johnson. I really like the way he handles himself, and when it is time to race and win and be competitive, he shows up. Really wasn't in the picture at the Brickyard. Sure enough, he wrecks, blown up, or whatever happened to him on the bottom of 3 wide there going in the turn. But I really like the way Johnson handles himself. If it's his fault, he's very quick to say that was my fault, and I think that's big. I think a lot of guys don't want to admit it. I don't know why, but I followed him. I liked watching Dad over at Louisville, old races and stuff. I watched Pearson and Petty and all that bunch in Yarborough and the way those guys drove. But that was pretty neat the way they used to be able to drive those race cars. That's about it though. I like Kyle Busch. I like how Kyle Busch runs a race car. Whether or not he handles himself right outside the race car, who cares? Everybody's watching to watch how Kyle acts, so he's doing what he's supposed to.
So the second part of his question is, Josh would like to know, how's fatherhood going?
Good. It's funny you say that right now. We've been having problems sleeping, getting them to sleep. So last night he slept for like 9 hours and 52 minutes or something on Erica's timer. So I'm feeling a lot better about it right now. I don't think I'm gonna put him up for adoption yet, but we're good.
Okay. You want to skip over to yours?
Yeah, real fast. Cindy asked also, how long do you plan on racing?
I'm gonna wait till we get a sponsor. I'm gonna take it and hit the high road on you. That's
good.
how long.
Well,
Where y'all going?
There they go. So, and I am going to say, Cindy, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to say. It had to do with that last question.
Yeah.
It all depends on Little Will. It's depending on how long Little Will, what he decides to do. So if he chooses to race, then we'll certainly,
It looks like I got about 10 years left.
We figured 12, 13 years, and we'll be out, and then we'll put him in here. So that's the thing right there. But that's strictly up to him. We would not shove him into it at all.
Right, just like Dad didn't shove me to race.
No.
For those who haven't met Champ, you want to tell them?
That's our shop cat.
He's our shot cat, Champ. He's got some pretty big claws.
Got 6 toes. Good boy.
He's probably 14. He's
14,
he's at least
15
14
years
or
old.
15 now.
We have no mice.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to go on to your sheet?
Biggest challenges, again from Cindy, the biggest challenges of our program.
Working with my dad.
Working with my son. No. Of course, what we've been talking about the whole time is sponsors. Dollars, solves a lot of issues. But again, a dollar creates a lot of problems. And that's funny to say, but with money you get pressure, and you have to perform better, and you got to be better prepared and things like that. We've done it before when Frank and I were together, and we were getting upwards of $1 million a year. It made things. You had to be more prepared when you went out, but it's easier. Don't get me wrong.
You got more people to do it.
You got people to do it. You can find people, and that's the second problem. Challenge of a program is people. And where we're at, when you get good people, they're here for 3 or 4 years, and they decide they want to do something else, and that's a tough deal. But Tony Hebron's been with me since I've been a freshman in high school, or since he was a freshman in high school. I was a little older actually, and it's tough to have the same people over and over. And when you have the same ones in here all the time, it certainly makes things go better. But dollars is the toughest part. Absolutely.
And you get people that, when you have money though, when you have funds behind you, and you can pay a little bit better, you get a little bit better quality help as well though.
Absolutely.
And it's tough because unfortunately it's me, Justin, and Dad and James, and we're all spread pretty thin, and it's tough. It's good in some ways because you got 3 of us, so we all got to know what's going on. But at the same time, when things get tough and we crash a car like we did it here at Talladega, if that would have been any other track where we had to run later in the year, it really would have put us behind.
Yes, absolutely.
For those who don't know, there's some people that were here that have went on into other series that kind of got their start.
A couple of them could be watching. I don't know who I was watching, but Travis works with car chief for Junior, I believe now, on the 88 team. Brian Wilson, who's crew chief on and on in the Cup Series, but mainly with the Xfinity deal and the 12 car, if I'm right.
One of the Penske cars.
He's with Penske. Spicoli, Jeff, he's going to kill me for saying that. Jeff, he's with GMS. So there's a lot of guys that have went on to Charlotte, and they've had pretty good success under what Dad was able to show them when they were here.
Although we have some questions still left on the sheet, can they still submit questions online?
Sure, that's fine.
Yeah, they've been good questions actually. So yeah, go ahead. Whatever they got. How many more you got there?
I got a couple here. It says this is good. One, your favorite track?
Oh, Salem. Yeah,
That was a hands down.
Salem and Winchester. Easily.
Where would you like to have your first win if you had a choice? Where would you want to win first?
Salem.
I would say Daytona for him, but
Salem Fall Classic. If I circle one race once, I circle that one like 17 times. So.
How hot does it get in the car?
Real hot, because most of the time Dad doesn't let me put an air conditioner in it because it's too heavy on the right side.
I don't think you need an air conditioner. When you're in your 20s, you don't need an air conditioner.
I'm almost 30. 29 rounds to 30. But I think it gets somewhere between 125, 130 degrees. But the floorboards actually get quite a bit hotter than that, so we got false floor to get air in between the floorboards and stuff like that. DEI has made it a lot easier on me because we're able to insulate the whole floorboard, and unfortunately when you're taller and bigger and the seat has to touch the floor and there's no air gap there to move air, the heat from the floor goes directly to the seat. So I think the floorboards are somewhere probably close to 200, 220, 230 degrees, so that heat goes throughout the car and it can kind of cook you, but you just kind of get used to it. Come on.
Okay. We're going to skip over Donnie's question, but Donnie, we will come back to that.
Donnie.
Henderson.
Oh.
Uncle Donnie. Okay, we'll come back, Donnie. Todd Bixby asked, how often do you have to update your helmet?
5 years?
5 years.
5 years?
Yes.
Yeah, every 5 years.
5 years on the helmet, 2 years on the seat belts,
Hans gets recertified.
Hans gets recertified.
Fire extinguishers are
Fire
2.
extinguishers are every 2 years. Is that right?
2.
2
Yeah,
years.
Yeah, because you had to have
Yes. All the safety equipment.
fire bottles does all
Yes.
our stuff.
All the safety equipment now is really, the certifications have really stepped up on that stuff.
Fuel
now.
cells,
5 years.
Seats.
Fuel cell. Seats every 2 years.
seats, you send them back every 2 years to LaJoy. Have them gone through, they check welds and stuff, update them.
So yes.
There's a lot to keep up with on the safety side of it. A lot.
So what do you use for safety as a driver?
I run a G-Force, German G-Force hooked me up with a really nice uniform. I got an impact helmet with the skirt. Obviously run the Hans device, and I get some help from Chariot Simpson on my shoes and my gloves and stuff like that. Huge fan of Stroth belts. Joe has done an excellent job with the double shoulder, the cam lock. The T-bar for the crotch belt is way more comfortable than anything I've been able to run in the past. So big fan of the Stroth stuff, and LaJoy seats have been, well,
So
after that hit, and when I went through at Mobile, yeah, I don't see me ever running anything else other than LaJoy.
Okay. Josh Buckner asked, have you got a chance to visit your car in Dale Jr.'s graveyard?
Not yet. I want to. I really want to go by and see where it's at and check that place out. Obviously, having a car in there, just got to let them know when I can get down there and see it. But fortunately, every time I go down that way, I'm in a hurry. I need to get back to the race shop and get back to work. So I haven't been able to do it yet, but I do really want to go down there, check it out. That's pretty neat because that's something that's going to be down there forever. So that's pretty cool.
So for some fans that might not be familiar with what he's talking about,
Right,
you want to
so-
tell them a little bit about?
So what happened? Obviously, our throttle hung at Mobile, and it was really big. Really, that's a big accident. We went off turn 1 and 2 turn. There's no guardrail, but it's got a pretty good bank, a little bit less than Salem, I'd say, and probably went 30, 35 foot in the air. Come down, hit a concrete wall, moved the cage in about 2 or 3 foot. Walked away, no problems. But the car made a bunch of headlines, a bunch of news. What was the drag race that had a problem that same day? Was it? It wasn't Ron Capps. But there was another big accident that happened the same day, so it all kind of snowballed and went all together. And we did get publicity out of it, which I guess is a good thing from it.
No, it wasn't. It was expensive.
Yeah, it was a bad deal. That car, we hadn't got to race that car yet. It was going to be a really good car, and it happened 12 laps in the race. So got a hold of Junior, and he was good enough to take the car and put it in the race car graveyard, and it's sitting down there today, hanging out.
Then go back to your
The
sheet.
last question I have here is, how much does an Arca race pay? That is funny.
Y'all if you don't know, this is pretty interesting here.
And you're going to say now,
Hey, watch your. There's
why do you do this? Well, and it varies. Depending on a short track pays $5,000 to win, $800 to start.
It varies as far as it pays a little bit to very little.
And there are different programs that you can get on. If you run all the time, you get a little more money for different racetrack. Pocono and anything on a mile and a half or bigger pays $10,000 to win and $1,500 to start. Daytona and Talladega, I think it's like $15,000 to win and $2,000 to start. And again, with the contingency money and things like that, Daytona would pay about $25,000, $26,000 to win. Salem with the contingencies would pay about $11,000 to win. So it's tough. It's tough.
A good follow-up question to that. What has anybody asked? How much does it cost to go to the racetrack?
Not yet.
Because that would be a good question to follow up with.
How much does it cost to go to an Arca race?
It only costs about $30 to get the pits.
To go to. How much does it cost to participate with a race car driver?
Pocono, Michigan tires alone is $10,000.
Absolutely.
If you're going to go race.
Our radial tires that we run on a mile and a half cost about $2,200 for a set of 4. At Salem, our tires are $1,200 for a set of 4. About the same on the dirt. So, as you can see, it's not a money-making deal. That's why sponsors are so critical to this sport.
Yeah, you got to have them. You got to have them to keep yourself going. Because unfortunately, the tire, even if you win the race, you're not including tearing the body up. Which at Salem, you're
Well, you got to figure what you got to figure if you got a $40,000 motor and then you got to rebuild it in 1,500 miles, you got to figure miles. I mean, it just happens. I mean, there's a lot. You got to figure travel, and motels, and pit people, and this goes
Semi
on and on
going
and
up,
on.
semi going up down the highway is more expensive than what some people realize too. It's a big expense for us.
Okay. Tim Despain asked, has the Elmore engine helped in saving teams money?
Okay, so I'm going to explain, Tim, some things that happen.
Who asked that?
Tim Despain.
That's a good question.
And these are numbers that very few people, I don't know, I should say these numbers, I'm going to say, I'll tell you anyway. Okay, so, wow, okay. If, I'm going to take Kentucky Speedway, for instance. Somebody comes in here and they say, well, we want to run Kentucky Speedway and we want a chance to win the race. We want the best stuff you got. It's going to cost them about $65,000 to rent my race car. And we'll take it. That's what it costs them. So in the years past, it would cost us anywhere between, again, $15,000 to $25,000 to rent that motor for just that racetrack for one time. So now, if you do that twice, we run Kentucky and we run Kansas, you spent more for a rental than you have for buying one Elmore. Races, you've gotten 600 miles roughly on that motor. Now you've got a motor, an Elmore you bought, you can run 900 more miles. So absolutely is a savings, a big savings. And in our situation, it hurts us on the short tracks because I would never let Will rent a motor anyway on the short track because we couldn't afford to do it. So it's hurt us because of the horsepower difference. We have to now, in order to be competitive at a Salem place, we've got to run an Elmore. So from our standpoint on the short tracks, it actually is, it costs us more money. But if I was renting a motor, it absolutely will save us money, yes. It's kind of, you're almost in a catch-22 a little bit there.
The bigger teams, it's saved them
Absolutely save them a lot of money. Because you can figure if you're running 20 races a year and you're renting them for $20,000, that's a $400,000 bill. And if I was running a full season, I could do it on 3 Elmores, that's $120,000. Simply economics.
When we were running on the intermediates and stuff, I'm gonna use Mason Mitchell as an example because Mason ran FR9s everywhere. When he went to the Derby, he had an FR9, and when I have an old D motor, Roush motor, which is the generation before the FR9, it was legitimately probably 50 down to the wheel when that FR9 was open. The biggest thing that helps us is everybody runs an Elmore, so when we go to the racetrack with the Elmore, all money aside and everything, at least with the same horsepower.
Same power, yes.
So that has helped us in that aspect.
But it does help. It is a cost savings deal, yes.
Okay, this is probably just a comment. Alan Wheatbrook. Thank God your dad didn't have to work on you after your wreck in Alabama. He worked on mine many years ago. I ended up with one arm dragging the ground.
It is just, that's just that Al doesn't realize it. That arm doesn't. If he lifts it up, it works.
Okay, Josh Buckner says, with the Elmore being a Chevy-based engine, will you have to change the bodywork to match the brand of engine?
No, you do not. You can put the Elmore in a Toyota, Dodge, Toyota, Ford, or Chevrolet. And in our series, all 3 manufacturers have actually continued to support the series. So we get bonus. If you win in a Ford, you get an extra $3,000. If you win the Chevy, you get an extra $3,000. And the same thing with a Toyota. So all the manufacturers have continued to support the deal because I think they see that from the big picture is something has to give in order for us, everybody, to keep motorsports going. So
It's actually the 3rd year for the Elmore.
Yes.
We've been running it since 14.
Yes.
So even when you saw the steel body cars, if it was Ford, Chevy, Dodge, Toyota,
they were still running.
They were still running Elmore.
Okay, so we want to hop back. Believe it or not, it's almost been an hour. So we'll hop back. We won't leave out Uncle Donnie's question. I'm just going to phrase it a little differently. So Uncle Donnie says, any ideas where Will go with sponsorship money?
I've seen people run really good out of ThorSport stuff.
Okay, so rephrasing the question, if sponsor money wasn't an issue, what opportunities do you think that would open up for Kimmel Racing or Will
We would
Kimmel?
love, in a real world, in a perfect situation, we would like to run a full season of Arca. Go
It's
after
going to
them.
stay right here. I'm 110% for making our
I mean,
organization better. I want people that are a lot better than me working on the race car and fabricating it. And I just
we haven't ran a full Arca season in years. It would be so nice to do.
I haven't ran a full season in anything since 07.
Right. We got a grandson. I got a grandson that's 13 years away. We have no intention whatsoever of Kimmel Racing going away, and we just want to continue to make it stronger. And that's exactly what we're here for.
Yeah, we want to get back to where we were in the 2000s and even in 09, 10, 11. I mean, that's
We
the
were
ultimate
going
goal.
hard, and it just stopped. But we're not done. I mean, we've been here since '49, and we're not going nowhere.
Yeah.
If an opportunity came about for Xfinity or Cup, is that something you would consider, whether it's a one race or?
Unfortunately, it's really vague. It's hard for me to answer that. But it just depends on
Yes.
depends on what we're doing here. I mean, if I'm racing here full time and we got a lot of stuff going on, or even if we got guys in the race cars that are renting race cars and stuff, and they depend on me to get the race cars ready, then I'm gonna do what I need to do to keep Kimmel Racing going and make it as good as I
Going
can.
forward.
Yeah.
But if there's an open seat and
Now,
someone wanted to
if Kyle
contact
Busch
you or not?
breaks his leg and for whatever reason they call me, I have to call in sick on, I don't know, whatever day that'd be. Tell Dad, too bad.
Okay, Greg Wesley. Does Arca have a drivers association similar to the Cup guys? If not, do you think it would help or hurt the Arca series to have one?
Okay. No.
Talking about the franchise?
No. The drivers union, like.
Oh, like the team deal we did?
No, we do not have one. The reason Arca does not have one of the biggest reasons, is because we have so many drivers bouncing back and forth in and out of our series.
It's because the younger kids have to have their dads in there with them because they're not old enough.
We are starting, and we have already had some meetings with the owners committee, and that is starting to influence some of the stuff going on too. So they've started an owner series, and it affects the bottom of the line teams as well as the top teams. So the owner series is trying to get something going to where they can make racing better as well. The owners division, the owners committee is. So we started an owners committee, and hopefully that we gain some ground with this.
Would you consider doing another one of these Q&A sessions?
Absolutely, yeah. Didn't realize it would be as popular. It's kind of a neat deal because I know a lot of people don't get to answer, get to know what's going on. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they're probably not used to the
These
not
people,
politically correct.
you guys are supporting us, so absolutely, we'll do whatever we can to support you.
That's all
What's
we
coming
got
up this week?
this week? I gotta finish left front bump steer on that. We're gonna put it on the pull down rig and probably put it on the dyno. I'm sure you're gonna want to run it with a new
Might do
motor and
that.
stuff in it.
Yeah. Then we got to get that ready. We got Ricky Sanders getting ready to go to Road America. Again, Will's back in with this car here at Salem.
The coins in between.
DeCoing back here, then back to Salem. Nick getting ready for Chicago and Kentucky. So things are moving forward. We're loaded up the rest of the year, ready to go.
We will be racing every race from here on out. No starting parks, nothing like that. So we are going to be
69 will be racing in every race.
Yep.
Thank
all
you
we
guys.
got.
Certainly
All right.
appreciate it. Thank you
Yeah,
much.
appreciate it. Good questions, and we will holler at y'all probably be back live sometime this week, I assume. Won't have a Monday review, but we'll go over some stuff going on Friday or Saturday maybe before we load. That's it.